Oh my gosh. No, I'm super grateful that you guys have invited me to talk about my album, and I'm like pinching myself. I feel like this is a dream.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what happens when you put a lot of your heart and soul into something, and then all of a sudden it arrives. And we all assume it arrives for us, but it also arrives for you because, in a way, I guess it doesn't feel real until people listen to it in some respects.
No, literally, when I walked in, you guys were playing the song. I've never had somebody play it for me. I would always play it for somebody. I don't think I noticed how much I've been waiting for this moment until I hear like you guys play it. And in New York, I had my first promotion week, and can I tell you the craziest story?
Tell me all the crazy stories.
It was just so funny because I was doing the first interview, and it was not, it was like one of those pre-interviews. So I guess production asks for like a pre-interview.
Oh, like tell us some stories you're going to tell us before we do the thing where you tell us the stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing. That was the first thing I did as soon as I landed in New York. And I woke up and I was like, okay, first thing. And then we get on the Zoom, and then they're like, how do you feel about promoting the album and about your album coming out? And I was just like, and I ended up crying.
I was going to say, did you burst into tears?
I ended up crying for the whole 30 minutes. I was actually like, it's the most embarrassing thing I've ever
I'm laughing because I'm not surprised. It's such a big question for someone who spent a year or 2 years making something, and it's such a simple observation, but it's like, I really wasn't ready for the simplest question.
Yeah, no, that's when I noticed. I was like, okay, I can give credit for myself because I think obviously it was not a smooth ride, and it just showed how much, time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears I actually did put into it. And that was the moment where I allowed myself to acknowledge the fact that I am really proud that I'm at the point of promoting it. And so it really means a lot to me, apparently. Apparently.
Internally, your voice is telling you it means a lot to you. We're experiencing that too. I mean, it makes me think about like the observation that some artists have, which is when I make something, I'm going through it. When I'm ready to release it, I'm through it. And then we sort of get to listen to it for the first time, and we assume you're still going through it. Are you a different person today, now the album is coming out, than you were when you started making it?
Oh, completely. I literally think this album is just like a little capsule. It's like a little, when I listen to my songs, I remember every minute of it, and I like went through everything. And without this album, I think I would have carried a lot of the past version of myself through till today, because to be honest, like I'm not doing, like, it was like a therapy session, and so I've bottled it up into this thing called Rosé, and so I've walked out of every single studio with a story and walked out feeling like I left it in that song. So there are some days where it's like, okay, don't like that song.
Yeah.
And the emotion bounced back into me.
Yeah.
And I felt like that didn't really get the story out. So in that case, those songs actually didn't make it to the album. But every single song that has made it to the album
served a purpose.
Yeah. Served a purpose in my life, actually and literally. And there are days where I'm like, wow, I don't talk about that anymore. Like ever since that session, I don't talk about it anymore.
Until today, we're going to go through song by song, taking her back through every single painful trauma. That's my job. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. Here we go. It's Rosé, the revised experience. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, some things will definitely maybe come up in conversation because the music is very real. And I said that to you when I met you before the cameras. I said, in the performance of these songs, which I'm really attuned to is how someone sounds when they're singing them, there are times I feel like you've caught yourself by surprise with the emotion of performing that particular song. Do you remember those moments where you sang outside of what would be considered a conventional performance and it was like, oh, I'm emoting something I wasn't expecting?
Oh, yeah. I think the more and more I was in the studio, I learned slowly. So at first it started with a lot of anxiety because there's this thing I say to myself. I always think confidence equals like, I can only think of a Korean word right now.
Just say it, it's fine.
실력, which is talent. I honestly think the more confidence I have, the more space I get to show talent. Like I don't think talent is such a, it's a bit of an interesting word because the more confidence somebody has, like you can play around with it and stuff. But at the very beginning, I didn't have much of it because I had so much anxiety in the studio, and I was not comfortable in the studio yet about being vulnerable and showing my emotions. The most fun part about this whole process of creating this album is that I think near the end of it, I kind of mastered that, you know, the pushing through the anxiety, and
You knew you could go there.
I started creating things
Yeah.
and my producer, when I went back to Korea, I hadn't recorded him with him for like over a year. He was shocked. He was like, Rosie, you're nailing this like instantly. You don't even you take that like 1 to 2 takes and you're already there. And like the tone is like, you've kind of mastered this new texture and tone to your voice. And so I was like, really? I felt really happy about it, but I had started to like have fun in the studio, like near the end. Right now, even still, I'm supposed to wrap up the album.
You want to keep going, huh?
Yeah. I literally kind of had to stop myself. I added these like last 2, and I think one for the deluxe. Somebody was like, let's just put that for the deluxe then, because it's like we loved it so much. And I was like, oh my gosh.
I think I know the 2 songs you're referring to, and I really like both of them.
Really?
Yeah. And I can tell actually that, you know, those 2 songs feel... It's funny because
it feels a bit different, right?
it does in a weird way. Certainly the last song on the record, which is the up-tempo one, the additional one, the up-tempo one.
The deluxe.
Yeah. There's just a sense of, I suppose, like you say, a freedom in the way you're approaching it that I think is in the middle of the record when I can really feel, and everyone will hear that you're going through something. You capture it really well. It's nice to get to the end and feel like you got through.
Yes. No, I think that's like the best feeling. And that's when I was like, do I have to jump on the next one now? Because I want to capture these moments. And
well, that's my question actually is when the last BlackPink tour came to its natural conclusion, did you feel any pressure from outside of yourself to make a solo album? Was there even a reality where you wouldn't dive into the studio and make your proper full-length debut?
First, I felt pressured, to be honest.
Yeah.
We were kind of coming off of the year-long tour, and you know, us as BlackPink, as mature as we are, we got together and decided, well, let's promise ourselves a good year to be inspired. You know, we've worked so hard for the past 8 years, and we've done. I honestly believe we've done so well, and I'm so proud. But you know, we all got together and just promised ourselves a good year to work on our solo stuff. And the first thing that happened was anxiety, because I was privileged to have this 1 year in my hands to do whatever I wanted with it, but I wanted it to be the right decision, and it had to feel right. And I was getting anxiety like from the get-go. I think I had anxiety all through. Now I'm kind of excited, but and so, yeah, at the beginning it started like that. But
Self-imposed pressure, though, a sense of like, what if I don't find it?
Yes. And what if I don't believe in it?
And I don't feel it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the biggest fear I think I had. I think doing it, like there were so many opportunities. I'm so grateful for that. But what if I don't believe in my thing? And what if I'm in a place where I'm having to do things that I don't feel like it's me?
Yeah, because everyone says it's good enough and you know it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be truthful, right? And so, but I just went, okay, I'm just going to start it. Like I have not really ever been in like the building process of an album before, but a start is everything, as they say. So let's
starting
start
and
it.
ending, starting and ending.
It.
Everything in the middle is a joy, and you can do it in front of nobody if you really want to. But you got to start it. You got to make a commitment to yourself, and then you got to be able to finish it.
Yeah. So I threw myself in, and I remember telling my co-writers and producers, I was like, I am so anxious. And they're like, why are you so anxious? And they have guided me through this process so much, and I'm so grateful. But I remember walking out of like the first few sessions being like, I'm actually surprised. I think I might be able, I think this proves to myself, no one else, just to myself, that I might be able to just work at this. And then my friends and family started supporting me when I was like, eh. And I was still shy about it. I was like, I wrote this song with a few people. And they'd be like, Rosé, you should build this up. And I doubted myself even still, but they were like, just do it. Just go at it. Just go back to LA. Just fly back, book the hotel, get an Airbnb, just go and do it. And I did it. And I stuck to it for a few months. And then a few months led to like 2 months led to 3 months, 4, 5. And then in the middle of it, I found a label, and I made sure I made decisions the way I felt like it was right. And then here I am today.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, we can't